Good evening, everybody. How was it on the big screen? Good? I'm jealous. It's so lovely to be here. You may be asking yourself, why am I hosting this panel? I'm asking myself the same question, but here we are. I did want to say before we begin that there are unfortunately two notable absences tonight. Yes, your Princess Rhaenys, as played by both Emma Darcy and Millie Alcock. They both desperately wanted to be here, but unfortunately something came up, so they couldn't be. But we do have some other incredible people with us. So without any further ado, why don't I bring out the people you're actually interested in seeing tonight? Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for Rhys Evans, our Otto Hightower. Eve Best, Princess Rhaenys Targaryen. Steve Toussaint, Lord Corlys Velaryon. FABIEN FRANKEL, Sir Criston Cole. Mr. Matt Smith, Prince Daemon Targaryen. OLIVIA COOKE, Queen Alicent Hightower. PADDY CONSIDINE, King Viserys Targaryen. Emily CAREY, young Alicent Hightower. Ryan Condal, co-creator and executive producer. And a young and up-and-coming lad, Mr. George R.R. Martin, co-creator and executive producer. What a cast. Guys, I really want to be on your show. No, I am. I'm so excited to be here to celebrate one of HBO's more intimate and small projects, House of the Dragon, or as we call it in the GAD house, a cautionary tale of childbirth without healthcare. You know, I am obsessed with this show. It's truly phenomenal, and I think all of us, I can assume, were giant fans of Game of Thrones. And I think the first question I'd love to start with is, talk about the pressure of trying to follow the success of that show. And how did that process start? And I'll shoot it to you guys at the end there. What was the process of, did you feel the pressure of trying to match or top the original series?
No, the pressure of trying to do this show to follow the original series is nothing compared to the pressure of trying to finish the novel that will complete the original series. That's the one that has me sleepless at nights. The show, that's Ryan's problem.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, but I've been a fan of George's writing for over 20 years now. And I found them right when I came out of college and was sort of a lost screenwriter. And I credit A Song of Ice and Fire a lot with teaching me how to write. And so to, you know, fast forward 20 years and be put in this position to be in charge of the successor to the biggest television show in the history of the universe was a lot to take on. And it felt
also the one that won the most Emmys.
Thank you for reminding me.
No pressure there, buddy. It's gonna be all right.
Can I pass? Is that possible? Yeah, it was a lot. But as a fan, I just set out to make the show that I wanted to see as a fan, and I think we have done that, and I'm very proud of it.
I'd love to hear from the co-creators, what were some of your favorite moments, both adapting moments from the book and also moments that you came up with for the purpose of the series?
I mean, adapting moments of the book, I think definitely the pilot really sits with me. And I think it's largely because it's, with any TV series, any writer, you spend the most time with the pilot because it's the thing that you're trying to will into existence, so you do the most drafts of it. So for me, it was just seeing that stuff come to life, because I had spent 3 years, sweating and crying over my keyboard, trying to get it going. So seeing all that stuff come to life, wonderfully performed by all these lovely people in front of you, was the most exciting thing to me.
Yeah, I think I don't know how many of you have actually read the books, but there's a special challenge to adapting Fire and Blood, which is significantly different from the books that were the source for Game of Thrones. Those are 5, soon to be 7, I hope, novels that are fully developed with, the characters, the dialogue, the scenes. It's all there. Fire and Blood is an imaginary history book that has a few scenes where I zero in and I give you a half page of a scene. I give you some actual dialogue, but mostly it's history. And it's an outline, and you can't present an outline on television, so it has to be filled in, and that's where I think Ryan and his staff of writers, and really some incredible writers, have done a marvelous job. I mean, in Fire and Blood, for example, it is stated that Emma Arryn dies in childbirth, and her son dies the following day. They air for a day. There's nothing about the most horrendous childbirth scene ever seen on television. That was entirely the work of you and your writers, and it's an incredibly powerful scene that just my summary one line would not have conveyed. And there's a lot of that in this show if you go through it. It's an adaptation, but it's also creation.
Well, we've talked about some brilliant writing. I'd love to also talk about this brilliant cast, because it really is such an extraordinary group of talents. Why don't we start with a gentleman who's no longer with us, spoiler alert on the series. But true story, I was watching this episode by myself in my trailer, and I stood up and applauded when you dragged your broken ass to that throne. And it was also just the brilliance of that moment, and the brilliance and the execution of the physicality of that, but also all of you guys and your reactions to that moment, including that gorgeous moment with the crown, which I'd love to talk about. I'd first love to start with you, Considine, about shaping that moment, which is such a pivotal moment, and then Matt and the rest of the cast, if you can talk about kind of bringing that scene to life and those moments that just stood out to all of us.
Well, we'd shot a scene that's in episode 8 a few weeks earlier, where he's being bandaged and you see his emaciated body. And the amount of pain he was in that scene just made me rethink that walk to the throne, because he's in such a terrible state. I thought that's going to be some like monumental walk through the Red Keep to the throne. So when I came to shoot that walk in, I just thought, right, I'm gonna really take my time, and I'm gonna really struggle and make these people wait. And I thought, what a fantastic choice. But it took about 10 minutes to get down, and then after 100 takes from so many different angles, I managed to put my hip out, break 3 walking sticks, and nearly put myself in hospital. But it was impactful, and I think as a cast as well, by that point, we were so far down the road with it, and we were such a sort of unit together that we were all so in tune with it all. So it all worked out. But the crown moment was an accident. I was climbing up the steps, and the crown just fell off, and Matt picked it up and put it on my head. And it was just such a fantastic moment, when I sat on the throne and Matt put it on the head, that we went to Geeta, who directed that ep, and just said, listen, we've got to keep that in. That's got to be a part of it. So I made sure that it fell off every take. So they couldn't cut around it.
Matt, for you, that scene is loaded with such beautiful history with the two of you that obviously there's, the limitations of how many sequences we can see throughout the season of the two of you and all those moments that are missing. But talk about sort of the completion of that journey with regard to that scene in particular. And again, it's the nuances, it's all of it that stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I felt so sort of lucky, to have Paddy as my brother, really. But I did think, fucking hurry up and get on with it, because we've been sat here all day. You know what I mean? Like, it's 10 minutes later, he's still walking. No, yeah, it was just a gift having Paddy, really, who I've just completely admired my whole career, my short career. We every day we just tried to sort of bring the best of ourselves and push Daemon and Viserys as far as we could. And that was a moment of luck, really, wasn't it, Paddy? It was, the crown fell off and there it is. They kept it in. And we were like, please keep it in, Gia, please keep it in.
It's phenomenal. And again, everybody on this stage responding to you walking in is what makes this show so damn special. It's those little moments where we're tracking each of you, even without any dialogue. So, Eve, this episode is a pivotal moment for your character, obviously. And Princess Rhaenys, how do you determine where her loyalties lie? Can you talk about what it was like to play the internal conflict of that?
A bit like that.
Terrific answer. Thank you very much. No, I promised you I wouldn't give you hard questions. That one was written by HBO, but I really want to know. I'm as curious as they are. Tell me about that internal conflict. For instance, when I did Olaf, it was very complicated because how do you portray a snowman that's on the verge of death? Your turn.
Exactly. It's really fucking hard.
Tell me about it.
I think she basically just hates everybody at this point. And is really so scared about what's going on with this one. And kind of, it's almost like the minute that Viserys walks into the room, she can smell where the scene is going to go. No, she can't smell him.
Do you want to talk about, is this a problem on all of your sets or just on this particular one? Well, it really, I think the thing that I love about your character so much is there's all that history, there's all that pain, there's the pain of losing the children, there's the pain of losing your husband, not knowing, but you bring this beauty and strength even in those moments where we have to fill in the blanks. And I'll just say on behalf of all of us, you're fucking amazing in this show. All of you are. Steve, a lot of the central conflict of this episode stems, and I'm saying this on the spot, none of this is written down, stems from the uncertainty of your character's fate. We see his brother fighting over who will be heir to Driftmark. Can you talk about the theme of succession and tapping into what drives Corlys?
Wow. Well, I think the motor for Corlys for most of that season is his pursuit of legacy, this feeling that his family never got their rightful place in history because they didn't have dragons. He is at pains. He's at pains to say that he built his empire by himself. He didn't feel like the rest of the guys around the small council have the worth that he does because he actually went out there and earned it. And so I think there is that. There is also the fact that he truly believes his wife should be the monarch. And I think he holds that more dearly than she does. Because I think, in fact, we have a scene where she says, I threw that away. But he's like, no, you shouldn't have. It's because it's you. It should be you. And coupled with the fact that we have a king who is a nice man, but probably not the best king for this time. So I think those are the things that are motivating him. And so for the most of that season, he's basically trying to find a way to get himself and his family closer to the crown. And if that's marrying my gay son against his wishes, then so be it.
Amazing. Rhys, a lot has been said of you being essentially the little finger of this show, and it's delightful to see you in motion. What's it like playing a man whose motives are a little self-serving and yet also in service to what he believes so dearly in?
Yeah, well, I mean, Otto's motivation really in this society is quite clear and normal, you know. He wants to put his family in a position where they, you know, have a good chance of surviving, of not being killed, you know, and that's a position of power. And that's what he does with Alicent, you know, he puts... you know, to modern eyes, it's a heinous act, you know, putting your daughter in your best friend's bed. But, you know, in the context of this world, he's putting his daughter in a position of power and safety. And he's putting his daughter in the bed of, you know, quite a nice guy. You know?
Seems like you're trying to
I mean, I'd get into bed with Paddy. You know, I'd have to have something to bite on, but it'd be fine. Yeah, I think you know, that's what I mean. Yes, of course. You know, it's a skullduggerous world, and he's an operator, and he operates to the best of his abilities. But he does it with, believe it or not, compassion.
I do believe it. We see it. She's shaking her head no.
I just breathed.
But I do see there. That's what's so incredible about this relationship between the three of you is there seems to be genuine love, even though there's a lot of Machiavellian mischief going on. And again, it's sort of like we're always constantly questioning what are his intentions. So excellent. Fabian, Sir Criston Cole, what the hell are we going to do with you? I started at the beginning of the season, I was all excited, and then you became fucking Alex Murdoch all of a sudden. So, what's it like playing a character whose personality goes through such an evolution with the dramatic shifts in Alliance?
Just less people being nice to you on the street, really. I don't know, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think, obviously, you kind of want to find, like, your justification for everything that he does. But then again, some of the shit that he does is slightly unjustifiable. So, yeah, I think for him, it's like, I wrote this in a letter to Sarah and Ryan, where I said, Alicent pulls him out of the dirt at the kind of lowest point in his life. And I think he owes a great debt to her. And I think that that's why his loyalty becomes so severe. The rest of him I can't really attest to be honest.
Amazing. Matt, your character, Prince Daemon, not always a gentleman. However, there are quite a few endearing moments, truly, where we absolutely fall in love with you protecting your family. And it's part of the beauty of this character. You hate him, you love to hate him, and sometimes all in the same scene, which is remarkable. Can you speak to this sort of range of Daemon's character and the roller coaster we go on with him?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's such a wonderful character. I think he has quite a perverse sense of morality, but he has his own sense of morality, and he's quite stringent about it. And I think his family are the sort of forefront of that. And weirdly, there's a great sense of kind of loyalty about him, even though he does some really punked up shit, you know. There was sort of, you know, something in that. It's like he's always kind of walking on a really finite piece of glass, and you never really know which side he's gonna fall off. And I think that's the thing that really interests him. And I think ultimately he's not really interested in power. He's sort of like an agent of chaos, really. And when he's feeling chaotic, then I think he's feeling sort of alive and fulfilled. And so he just seeks out that all the time.
I could just watch an entire episode on mute and watch all of your little sort of smiles and glances, and I'm gonna admit to you now, I have done that. No questions, please, until the end of the panel. Olivia, first of all, can we tell them what George said to you backstage before you came on?
So George said to me, "Everyone hates you." In a very loving, like, proud father way. That was my read on it. Yeah.
But, you know, it's sort of a great way to pivot into this question, which is, you bring a really sympathetic side to...
Do I, though?
You really do. To a character who could be considered a villain. And I'd love for you to talk about that balance, because you obviously you have to love this character, and it shows. And I'm very curious how you went about sort of balancing that, the kind of insane choices that she makes against the backdrop of what she believes and what she wants.
Well, it's sort of similar to what FABIEN said. You know, she has these markers of who she believes she is, and she strongly believes in the patriarchy, and she believes in family and the family unit, and she has been indoctrinated, for better or definitely for worse, by Daddy over there. And yeah, so she will do whatever she can out of desperate love for her father and for her children, and her grandchildren as well.
Incredible. We don't see any major dragon writing in this episode, correct? But would love to hear from Matt and Eve on what it's like to film versus what audiences see due to VFX. Like, what is the process of riding on the back of an imaginary dragon?
Exactly the same.
Is it?
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Thanks, HBO, for that one. That's I'll write these questions the next time I do one of these. Succession cast, what's it like to be caught in intrigue all the time? Paddy, back to you. There are a few of your characters who age throughout the series, but none, shall we say, as fully as you. Can you talk about that process? And I would also love to hear about the extraordinary collaboration with the makeup and hair department, because, my God, they do such an extraordinary job on this show.
Well, I had to explain this to a lot of people, because he doesn't actually get old. He doesn't age, you know, because everyone else stays the same. So he's not rapidly aging. He's got a sort of a kind of a leprosy, really, that's eating away at him. And that's what causes his decline. But the makeup was fantastic, you know. Yeah, it was about 4.5 hours in the chair. I think it was about 4.5 hours for that final look. And then a little bit of digital effects. But it was amazing. I think with makeup, you've got to be able to perform through it. You know, you can't do the work for you. You've got to be able to... It should be a collaboration, just as the costume is a collaboration. And I thought the design was fantastic. When you do this, you just want it to be believable and look believable. And it worked really effectively.
I'd love to open this question actually to the cast in general. Did all of you guys work hand in hand with makeup and hair to sort of establish the look, the feel, the aging, the arc of the story you were telling?
Yeah, well, we all had.
Back to Paddy. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, but curious. Did all of you guys have the same process?
I would say it was very collaborative, but we're so lucky with the crew that we've got, who are just like Amanda Knight and Roz, who does hair. They're just so brilliant, and so you sort of like give a very vague reference, and then they pull out all the amazing makeup and just tubs of hair and stick it on your head in the most extravagant way, and you're like, oh, and there she is.
Incredible. Emily, I would love to talk to the two of you about the process of forming this character. It was brought to my attention that you guys did not necessarily work together in establishing her arc. Is that true?
Yeah, we didn't speak.
Right. No, there's a nasty little rumor actually that I want to clear up, that we were like forcibly kept apart.
Oh, not at all.
Okay,
no.
good.
It was
weren't.
completely coincidental.
Yeah, okay.
I just think there were moments where we were questioning whether it was a choice or not, but it wasn't. It was just that we were both very busy. But yeah, I think obviously we just got given a huge amount of trust that was put into us, and we just sort of had to put that trust into the team behind it as well, and just hope that I left it off in the right place for you to pick it up.
Ryan, do you want to, is that rumor true? Did you keep them apart?
I mean, there were separate cages, but no. We actually really, I mean, my memory of it was that we kind of left it open to you guys to figure out what you wanted to do, and the way that I always talked about it was I felt like so much changes in that 10-year gap between episode 5 and episode 6 that they really are different characters at that point. So the division that that happens between them by the time you come into episode 6 and Rhaenyra is delivering the baby and bringing it up to the queen. I mean, you can. I mean, that's the intent of that amazing sequence. To show how much has changed. So we really did look at them as essentially two different characters. So we felt that there wasn't a need to really stitch them together. But of course they read all the scripts and that informed their building of the character. But no, we really left it open to Emily and Olivia and Emma and Millie to figure out their process.
Well, it's a testament to you guys that the character really does feel of a piece, and it feels like it's got the history of you guys not being caged separately by a sadistic showrunner. So terrific. Want to talk for a second, Emily, about that incredible emerald green gown. Your character truly transforms in that moment. What was that moment like for you, and was that a sense of catharsis for the character?
For me personally, shooting it was terrifying, of course, because it's such a huge moment, but it felt as big to me as it did to Alicent in that moment. So I sort of channeled that as much as I could. I wanted to wear the dress rather than the dress wear me, which was a huge fear of mine. Claire, who directed that episode, phenomenal, and completely coached me through the whole process. I remember we did a couple of takes of that gorgeous, like, wide mid shot of me walking forward, and she seemed happy, but something in the back of my mind was saying that there was something missing. And I hate being that person to be like, can we go again? But I did, and I asked, and we did it, and I can recognize when we watch it that was the take we used. It's one of those beautiful moments as an actor where you just sort of sit there and go like, yeah. Like, it's rare to feel that. I think everyone in this industry is a perfectionist, and I had never experienced that sort of contentness before, I guess. So it was a lovely moment for me as an actor, and also for Alicent, where that story sort of, for my story of Alicent, came to a halt to that point. Everything that sort of was building leads to that big moment.
Amazing. And then, Olivia, can you talk about portraying the shift from friends to rivals? It's not constant animosity. There's nuance there, as we saw in this episode.
Well, it was hard because without, Emma puts it really beautifully, to have a hatred, you've got to have something to set fire to, and that was love. And so because Emma and I don't really get to act within this beautiful friendship that you and Millie did so gorgeously, beautifully, we did some of your scenes pretending to be 14-year-olds in rehearsals. Emma lay in my lap and me reading from a book, and thank God we didn't have to do that on camera. But it was nice to have that memory implanted, so then we could really set up this rivalry. And yeah, you just have to have there's such a massive chasm and such a hurt, because they were the only people for each other in the castle that they could be themselves with. There's no one, I mean, especially for Alicent, she hasn't got anyone like that.
Incredible. I'd love to go down the line here and ask each of you, what is your favorite memory or memories from set? Rhys, why don't we start with you?
Hello. Well, I mean, as agonizing as some of the big scenes were to shoot in terms of time and effort and moving parts, you know, I really enjoyed the days when we were all on set together, you know. One, because because of the nature of the show, we sometimes wouldn't see each other for weeks on end. So it was great to kind of regroup and work as an ensemble, you know, and really kind of respond to, you just to go back to, Paddy's walk, you know, to have that opportunity to respond to that and among each other with all our own particular individual narratives and letting them play out beyond the lines, beyond the script, you know, to inhabit that kind of mysterious world, the wordless world that an actor kind of starts to develop on a series like this. And that was really always very satisfying in retrospect.
Eve, what about you?
I agree with that. And I think one of my favorite times was when we were in Cornwall, and that was our first couple of weeks, and we were filming on St. Michael's Mount, and it was such a beautiful place, and we were all filming this horrible, very sad funeral, but we were jolly together, and that was really wonderful.
I don't think I can say just one.
You have to.
I do.
Because
okay.
HBO's giving me a look. We're running out of time.
Okay. Okay, in that case. Well, in that case, it would probably be from that very first episode. The very first thing that we shot of the whole season was myself and Eve, and sitting by the fireplace and me saying, history remembers names and not blood. And I remember, and I've told Eve this, that I went home that first evening and she said, "Thank God for Eve Best," because she is such a wonderful scene partner. So if I had to pick that would be the one. And I think a close second would be myself with Matt at the end of episode 2.
I love that moment. Fabian, you monster.
All the scenes before I got hated. I don't. No, to be honest, look, we were a set of gigglers, I have to say, and it just took like a glint in someone's eye to sort of set everyone off. There was a lot of laughter for such a serious show. And then I've got to say, Millie, because she's not here, but I just like, very, very rare that you get to sort of have a dance with someone who's as talented as her at such a young age. I just like absolutely loved working with her.
Matt?
I loved, because I never got to do it, I loved the beach and sort of getting to swing a sword around and being covered in blood and roll around in the sand and all that. And then I loved watching FABIEN sweat and complain in his armour every day. Just brought me such joy. It still does, actually.
Week 1, we're in Cornwall, and we're doing a scene at the wake, and the camera is maybe there on me in like a close-up, and Fabian's there, Rhys is behind me, and all of a sudden I just see this hand reach out and grab Fabian's hilt of his sword and just start making a very lewd gesture. And that happened all the time, not that, but like just Rhys constantly just trying to make me collapse. Sorry.
I love all of us on that happened all the time. He's like, really? Everybody wore hilts that he did that with? Paddy?
I don't really have one, to be honest with you. You know, I just got to work with everybody, pretty much everybody, and it was a real joy just to be able to go to work and work with all these different people. It really was. It was just great. I had relationships with all of them that I had to sort of balance, and it was just a great job for that, working with so many brilliant people. And when Rhys...
I would agree with Rhys. It's sort of any scenes where we were all together. It was my first week when we shot the tourney in episode 1, and I remember it feeling like some kind of weird, dysfunctional family day out, but in the best possible way. And I just remember we had a blast. Anytime we were together, that and what we call the succession scene where Millie gets the crown on her head, I remember standing next to Rhys, again, funny, and he always just makes everyone crack up.
Well, I'm definitely going to start wearing a sword around set more than I did in season 1.
I can't wait to see Hollywood Reporter tomorrow running a story about this panel.
No, I mean, everybody's kind of calling out the first. We shot episode 7 first for a number of production practicalities. It was this location episode, and so that for me it was right before we went to Cornwall. We shot the scene, the great hearing in Lord Corlys's hall over Aemond losing his eye. When
that was the first scene shot.
That was like week 3, 2.
Whoa!
Yeah, it was weeks into the shoot. Yeah, and it was this enormously complex scene. The whole cast all in the same room. It took like 3 days to shoot, and for me, it was seeing Alicent, Rhaenyra, Emma, and Olivia come together with a knife. Alicent trying to stab out her former friend's child's eye with a knife, and that beautiful speech between them written by Sarah Hess, who's right there, and seeing that get filmed, seeing our two female leads locked in that mortal combat, I knew watching that, I was like, it works. The show, because this relationship works, the show works, and I was sort of overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude and relief. So that was the one for me.
George?
Well, sadly, I wasn't there for any of this fun. I was back in Santa Fe working on this novel. I missed all the good times, but yeah, that's sad. But for me, these things began a long time ago with strange, disturbed visions in my head. So seeing them actually come alive on the screen, seeing these things that I just imagined suddenly having a reality, and people are doing it and it's alive. I've seen the tournament scene that opened the thing was incredible. I love jousting and tournaments.
You wanted that in the original series, right? In Game of Thrones, a big joust, right?
I wanted, yes, Game of Thrones has a tournament, the Hands tournament, and unfortunately, Game of Thrones, especially in the beginning, had a much smaller budget than Ryan had.
Yeah, it shows. It's very hard to watch.
Brian Cogman, who was one of the writers on that show, wrote the tournament episode of Tournament of Hand, and it's his first draft. He had like hundreds of knights and many jousts, and by the time we filmed it, it was down to 12 spectators and the 3 jousts that actually advanced the plot. So seeing this glorious tournament scene that they put together, that was thrilling for me. And seeing the dragons. I mean, the dragons were great in Game of Thrones, but they were like all the same. And I liked being able, the minute I saw Caraxes, I knew who the hell he was. And, Syrax coming in the beginning, the dragons had personality. That had been something I'd really wanted. So seeing this kind of stuff come alive is a great satisfaction for me and a pleasure. And then when they add weird ass stuff, if I like it, that's also very cool. So that's good too. So these are my pleasures. But I don't know. Someday maybe I will make it to the set and I'll be able to hang around and see people fondling these sword hilts.
By the way, I
hope you've captured some of these things for the blooper reel and the extra added deleted scenes content, right?
Maybe.
I'm going to have to wrap up in a second. Before I go, I have to ask, anything you want to tell this very special crowd about season 2 of House of the Dragon?
Well, we are going to start shooting very shortly, and in season 2, you're going to meet 5 new dragons.
Yay! There you go. And another surprise announcement. I'm going to be this season's Ed Sheeran on House of the Dragon. Very excited to tell you guys today. It's been such an honor talking to all of you. I get asked to do these a lot, and I don't know why. I'm not a moderator, but I'm here because I'm obsessed with this show. It's phenomenal. All of you are phenomenal. The craftsmanship on your show is phenomenal. The actors, the writers, the entire team. So thank you guys for having me. And how about another round of applause for this incredible cast and the creative team of House of the Dragon?